Coronation Street might get suspended. You're joking! Well, I'm not watching EastEnders. Hello and welcome to the United Stand. Lots to discuss this morning. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the question you wanted to be asked, got asked last night in the press conference. Top work from Flex over there in Austria. Ole asked about Paul Pogba. We'll talk about that in a moment because Solskjaer's staying, I think, and looks like Pogba's staying as well, which is massive news because of you. We'll talk about that in a moment, but in relation to the Premier League, we will give you the information from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference for the Spurs game. He did talk about that after the game, as is usual in the Europa League games. They do the press conference for the weekend fixture after that. It's been embargoed till 10 a.m. It's after that now, so we can release that information for you about injury news, etc. But the reality is you're probably watching this and the Premier League has been suspended anyway for 4 weeks. 2 weeks and then 2 weeks because of the international break. So 4 week suspension and then we'll see what happens from there. Common sense really with what's happening with Arsenal's manager and with a few Premier League players quarantined. So look, it makes sense. There's lots for us to discuss this morning and we'll deal with that in time and we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes about contingency for this period in relation to football and what we think will happen. But look, what we know is going to happen, that Paul Pogba is going to stay at Manchester United. Highly likely that's going to happen because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was asked that question. For anybody who was watching the watch along last night, we thought that Flex would get into the press conference again. He did. We were saying, is there any questions you'd like to ask if we get that opportunity? Vast majority were saying, please ask him about Pogba and whether Pogba's staying, because that was asked. That was a rumour this week, of course, from the press. Well, straight from the manager's mouth, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said, when asked about is Pogba going to be here next year, Pogba's got a 2-year contract left, 1 year plus 1 year of an option. You can expect Paul to be here, yes. So that's from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And what I would say about Solskjaer is, this time last year he was asked about Pogba. You can expect him to be here next season. He was asked about it through the summer. He will stay. It's been very, very consistent. So this is very, very, very interesting news because Pogba stays at the start of the week. We did a video on that. It was coming out from the press. I did a video a couple of weeks ago saying that United are confident they can get him to stay. Well, this is from the manager. And when Ole says stuff, he does, especially about Pogba, he tends to be right. And I just feel that even Ole said in his press conference after that, he said that I had a very good talk with Pogba this week. And I think if I wanted him to play against Spurs, he probably would, but he's probably not quite ready. It's looking like Pogba's mentality may have changed around his future and realisation that there's probably not anybody that's going to buy him and he's going to have to knuckle down at Manchester United. So this is a win for Solskjaer and this is a win for Manchester United. Now, whether it's a win for you, the fans, get in the comments. I don't know what your feeling is about whether you want Pogba to stay or not. I know there's some very strong opinion about him staying. There's some very strong opinion about people wanting him to go. But this is looking very, very much like Paul Pogba will be a Manchester United player for the next season, whenever that's going to be. So real positive news. Look, I think United with Pogba are better than they are without Pogba. But whether Pogba went and you brought a Grealish and a Partey in, would United be better? Then I think there's an argument there. It all depends on Pogba's mentality, whether he's going to stay fit, whether he's focused, whether his agent's going to keep his mouth shut. That's very important, and I agree with the people about the dressing room unrest, because regardless of whether Pogba is a person that unsettles the dressing room because he's such a big ego, we don't know whether that's fact, but we do know that players watch things, read things, and they'll see Mino Raiola saying that he wants out, and if you've got a colleague who's looking to move out, that will unsettle. So that is a very valid point. But what a question, because of you lot, applaud yourself. Ollie's been asked about it. I don't think anyone else was going to ask that question, so there you go. And Pogba, you can expect to see Paul Pogba at Manchester United next season. That's what Solskjaer is intimating. And what he's saying, I think what he's also saying is, if Pogba's going to leave, he's going to have to get vocal about it himself, which doesn't seem like it's likely to happen at all. So that's very, very good news. Just a couple of things on transfer news as well. He did speak about Agallo. We'll come back to that in a minute. Jude Bellingham, Birmingham City boss, has basically said that they expect Jude to be focused on the hot job in hand with Birmingham, and we'll see what the future holds with that. Of course, we know Jude Bellingham visited Carrington on Monday. Chelsea apparently interested, Dortmund apparently interested. It's just a little bit of an update on him. But sticking with Chelsea, they're linked to Angel Gomez. They've been linked to Angel Gomez this morning, which is very, very interesting because, all right, it's only in the Metro, but Gomez not involved again for United last night. We know from another question we asked a couple of days ago of Ollie that They clearly want him to sign. They clearly see him as a future player, but I think there is an issue with the contract. He's out of contract. He can't sign for Chelsea yet. He could sign for a European club at the moment, but he can't sign for Chelsea or a Premier League club until the summer. And is Gomez that disillusioned he's going to go? I mean, look, I like Chong. If I had the choice, I would prefer Gomez to stay. I think we all would. Hopefully we can get him to sign. Of course, I think he would have probably played next Thursday because Ollie has said that in relation to injury news for the Spurs game, which, as I say, I think we think that's going to get called off, by the way. It probably has been by the time you're watching this. Lingard hasn't trained all week. Martial hasn't trained all week. So you'd expect Gomez probably next week in the second leg of the Europa League tie would have played. But look, we'll come to that in a minute and the suspension of games, etc. He also spoke about Ighalo and Ighalo's future. I know a lot of you would like to see him stay. I think I'm sort of moving towards that now because I'm like, I don't know what the transfer fee would be Ighalo as well. We never mentioned that, but the wages, I think we could overcome that. What Ollie's basically said to him is, let's see. He's going to improve the more games he plays, and we certainly do need a player with his attributes, and we'll need a player with his attributes like that next season. So Ollie, I think, being very open with that they're seriously going to be considering this. Let's see. I think the only stumbling block for United would be that he is still got a couple of years left on his contract in China. The Chinese club he plays for doesn't owe us anything. He's on 300 grand a week over there, and they'll want a transfer fee as well. So how United get over that, I think we all know if Ighalo was free and he was willing to take 100 grand a week, it's a no-brainer. But if Ighalo's like 15, 20 million and 200 grand a week, it suddenly is a bit like, well, he's 31 in the summer. So there may be, I think that's why Ollie's saying let's see, and we will see there. We're also going to have to see about the Premier League future. As I said, there are managers and players that are quarantined at the moment, so you've got to suspend the league. I mean, I think yesterday the Premier League said that the fixtures will go ahead this weekend as planned, and then literally within minutes of that, we got the news about Arteta, now Hudson-Odoi, regardless of what their plan is about keeping the games going. And I thought this weekend would be the last weekend anyway. They've got to suspend now. There's too many implications of Chelsea players, Arsenal players, who you've played. It becomes a mess. So you'd have to suspend this game this weekend, even if it was just a sickness bug. You'd have to do it. So I totally agree with that. Next week, he'll obviously get suspended because it's FA Cup weekend. Then we're into international break. So we're looking at 4 weeks, which I think is a starting point for the suspension of the Premier League, and it gives time for everybody to just focus on the problem in hand. So I don't have a problem with that. So 4 weeks, let's see where we are in 4 weeks. We may end up, there's rumours in Germany, I'm going to do a video on That's Football in a minute, which I'll mention, about totally voiding the season and how that would impact on everybody. Not, people will think Liverpool, but also United. We're currently in 5th. We're not in a Champions League spot. Sheffield United have got a game in hand. If they win that, could they say they're in 5th? So maybe even the Man City thing might not get us into there. So lots to discuss about that, but not the time at the moment. I want to talk about some of the things that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said from the Spurs press conference, because I think it's relevant as well. But can I just say as well, we're going into a time, aren't we, over the next few weeks where it's going to be different. We're still going to be live every night at 8 o'clock. We're still going to have Flex and Rant show. We're still going to do... It'll be the last chart show tomorrow morning, by the way, for a while, which is a shame because I was really getting into that, but we will do a chart show for you tomorrow morning. But 2 things I want to shout out. I've dropped the links in the video description. I do Going for Goldbridge, which is non-football related. There's going to be more content on there because of the next 4 weeks. And I'm also doing a special one today. It's not football related. It's questions. It's topical. It's, more general stuff. I think a lot of you might like that over the next 4 weeks if you're looking for stuff to watch. So subscribe to that, link in the video description. And also That's Football, which is where I do FIFA, Football Manager stuff as well, which again, I'm going to be starting brand new careers for that probably on Monday. So again, give that a subscribe as well. I'm also going to do a video on the general Premier League and whether it should be voided. That's going to go up at lunchtime. So 2 channels for you to subscribe to keep you busy over the next few weeks without what's looking like football as well. So make sure you subscribe to those. Also, let's talk about what Ollie said about the Spurs game. I mean, look, there's some bits in there that are interesting, even though the game's not probably going to be played. He said we want to go there and dominate. It's a vital game for us in the race for top 4. I mean, the implications are going to be very interesting when this game does get played. Spurs will have Kane and Son back, and we'll have Rashford and Pogba back, and they'll have Bergwijn back. So, in a way, the game will probably be better when it gets played, whenever it gets played. That'll be a better game than this weekend, won't it? I mean, I'm sure many of us would rather play it this weekend because we'd beat them, but we'll probably still beat them anyway. Very good question about Mourinho, because Mourinho, before the game in December, this was a good question, was asked about United and basically indicated that United were a better team under him than they are under Solskjaer, and we went and beat him. So they gave Ollie the option to say, do you want to say that this Spurs team is worse than it was last year under Poch? And Ollie said, look, I prefer to talk about herself. I don't want to talk about other managers. And then they said, but what about, do you sympathise with Mourinho, though? He hasn't got Son, he hasn't got Kane. And Ollie then sort of went for Mourinho in a subtle, clever way. And he said, look, the difference is I don't talk, because the journalist said, well, you've had injuries to Rashford and Pogba, do you sympathise? And he said, well, the difference is I don't talk about my injuries. Son and Kane, obviously decent players, but it's part and parcel of football that you're going to get injuries. And I thought that was really good from Ollie, really. He's having a good time at the moment, and that was really good from him, because he basically is saying that, look, Mourinho's making excuses. And I don't think there's any love lost between Mourinho and Ollie. I don't. I think Ollie's professional, and he's not going to go public, but Mourinho will be sat there bubbling, going, he is taking the mickey out of me there, really, to be honest with you. As I said, he did speak about the injuries. Lingard and Martial didn't train this week. Wan-Bissaka would have been back, and Pogba not ready for he was asked whether Pogba would have been ready for the Spurs game on Sunday. He said he has been training, but he hasn't trained enough with the first team to be considered for Sunday. He said if I asked him, I'm sure he would play. We had a really good conversation this week, but it would have been next week for Pogba. So, that's an interesting thing going back to Pogba, isn't it? Ollie saying that Pogba, you can expect to see him as a United player next season, which is massive news. Absolutely massive news. It really is. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of comments below discussing that. But it's interesting with Pogba, isn't it? It's been a really weird season for Pogba. He got that initial injury, was out till Christmas, came back, got injured again. We expected him back in February, didn't get back. We knew he was going to be back around now, and now when we've got him back, the league's going to get suspended for a month. So Pogba, yeah, it's going to. But when Premier League football comes back, and look, it will come back. We'll have Pogba, and we may have Pogba for a lot longer. What does that mean in relation to Grealish? And I think that generates a programme that we'll do over the weekend as well. We've got lots of content planned on the United Stand, so don't worry. I think we're going to be going through a very, very different time, but there's lots to discuss. We're on the cusp of the end of the season. There's the summer transfer window. There's how are we going to look next season? Solskjaer's future, lots and lots to discuss. So thanks everyone for watching. Please do smash a like on the video. And as I said, with the next few weeks coming up, please give a subscribe to That's Football and my channel. Lots of different type of content on there for you to watch, especially if Coronation Street's going to get suspended. Lots of content coming up for you, so make sure you give those two a subscribe as well on your way out. We'll be back with the 8 o'clock show later on, of course, and over the weekend as per usual. So have a good day, stay safe, check out those channels, give them a subscribe, and get in the comments below about Pogba. Thanks for watching.